What a week of sport. The Six Nations is finished with France's champions, two strong men had a boxing match making it the heaviest boxing fight ever, and the F1 is back, and so are Ferrari, with a 1-2 finish. The El Clasico was a 4-0 whitewash to Barca, and I'm about £40 down after my horse falling off at the last hurdle of Cheltenham. But we're not here to talk about that. Let's round up what happened in the Premier League this week. This is a Premier League roundup. Crystal Palace versus Manchester City. This week's game started on Monday, with a clash between Crystal Palace and Manchester City. Somehow, this game finished 0-0. It's one of the best 0-0 games in a long time though. Lots of cards, lots of tackles, and some amazing goal-stopping saves. Man City registered 19 shots that game, and with a 70% plus possession, they still quite didn't have enough to leave with the 3 points, resulting in the title race being blown right open. Wednesday was the next set of fixtures, and with the Champions League tunes booming, it was going to be an amazing day of football. Brighton versus Tottenham Hotspur. Spurs headed down to the sunny south coast for a clash with Brighton at the Amex. Brighton, recently having been in a bad run of form, losing their last 5 fixtures, but they're playing Tottenham Hotspur. Anything could happen. Well, sadly for Brighton, Spurs decided not to bottle a game and came out guns blazing, looking to get away with all 3 points, and add pressure to the teams fighting for the Champions League spots. The game ended 2-0, with Brighton not even having a shot on target. Arsenal versus Liverpool. Game of the week was Arsenal versus Liverpool. And with Liverpool challenging for the league, and Arsenal looking to get back into the Champions League for the first time in 5 years, the game had potential to be one of the Premier League's classics. This game was very competitive, and Arsenal looked solid throughout the game, with one standout being Martinelli, who was ripping up the wing, creating lots of issues for Liverpool, and putting in some dangerous balls across the goal that only needed a toe poke towards to get on the score sheet. Liverpool were just too strong for Arsenal in the end, with 2 goals in the second half from Jota and Firmino, and some surprising keeping from a keeper who has been unstoppable this season. In Ramsdale saw Liverpool capitalising on City dropping points, creating a 1-point difference in the table. And from what looked like Man City's league in January, has now been turned on its head, with Liverpool now coming through to look like the favourites. Everton versus Newcastle. Frank Lampard's Everton have been struggling recently, with only 1 win in their last 5 games before this, and Newcastle coming in with only 1 loss in their last 5, and out of form Everton versus an in-form Newcastle, this looked like easy money for a betting man. And from the game, you would have thought Newcastle could have finished this game off. With great efforts from Wood, you could argue Everton had the best chance of the game, with a curling effort from Everton wonderboy Gordon, which was forced over the bar by Dubraca. The game was interrupted by a protester, zip-tying himself to the post. I don't know what this zip tie was made out of, but it seemed to be a hassle for the Everton staff to remove, creating some really meme-worthy images. After what felt like hours of struggling with the protester, the game got back underway, and was just as exciting as before. Of course, a game this year has to include at least one controversial decision, with Everton midfielder Allen's yellow card being upgraded to a red by VAR. This split many fans' opinions. In the last minute of the game, Iwobi made a great run, cutting the Newcastle defence down the middle, followed up with a quick 1-2 with Dominic Calvert-Lewin for him to bury it into the bottom corner. Goodison hadn't seen celebrations like this in a very long time, and although they're far out from the relegation battle, this is an important and well-deserved point for the Toffees, and it's clear to see the relief of Super Frank Lampard, who actually broke his hand celebrating the goal. Wolves versus Leeds. Everyone loves a comeback, when a team goes from behind to win. These games are often more memorable than an outright thrashing. Liverpool came back against Barca, Newcastle 4, Arsenal 4 in 2010-11. Leicester beating Man United 5-3 the season before they lifted the Premier League trophy. Comebacks are amazing, and so was this game. Wolves found themselves up 2-0 at half-time, with a dominant display, looking like they would breeze through the struggling Leeds United. You often hear the phrase football is a game of 2 halves, which in a literal sense is of course true. But this game is the reason that phrase is thrown about. The second half starts, and already booked Raul Jimenez finds himself going for a 1-on-1 with the keeper Meslier, creating an awful coming together between the two, which resulted in a second yellow for the Mexican forward, and for Meslier, an injury that forced Leeds into making a sub. The game was now 10 against 11, and Leeds had a lifeline. They needed to get themselves back in the game and see if they could leave Molineux with a point. They reacted quickly to the red card being given, scoring a goal in the 63rd minute after a few attempts, before it finally found its way into the back of the net, and then followed this up again with another goal, 3 minutes after Rodrigo brought the scores level. Aston Villa versus Arsenal. A beautiful day in England, sun was out, beer gardens were full, and Aston Villa versus Arsenal on the screens. Gerrard versus Arteta. It felt like an episode of Premier League years. Arsenal were just edged as the favourites for this game, but the teams seemed pretty evenly matched. The game started, and Arsenal instantly came out the gates the better team, putting a lot of pressure on Villa with their youngster Saka finding the goal in the 30th minute. The game finished 1-0 in the end, and it never looked in doubt for Arsenal. Looks like Arteta has really got them firing on all cylinders. Leicester versus Brentford. Leicester, looking back up to mixed form coming into this game, comfortably found themselves 2-0 up at half-time, with goals from Castagna and Maddison. Brentford tried to make a comeback, but it was a little too late with their goal going in the 85th minute. There wasn't enough time for the second. 2-1 win to the Foxes. Spurs versus West Ham. West Ham are still buzzing from their Europa League victory over Sevilla midweek, winning that game in extra time. You can imagine a lot of those players being a little sore after their extra long fixture, but you can't chill out when you're facing Conte's Spurs. Although they are a little unpredictable, on their day they are capable of beating anyone. The game started with an own goal from Kurt Zouma, which was a victory for most neutrals, as let's just say he's a bit of a Son then followed up to make it 2-0 in the 24th minute of the game, giving Spurs a healthy lead. Benrahma gets one back, but they go into half-time with the scores 2-1. Second half started, and with both teams looking hungry, West Ham looking for the equaliser, and Spurs looking to put the game to bed, but it was Son that got the last laugh, scoring in the 88th minute. What a performance from him. Spurs are definitely still in the running for the top 4 spot. And that has been Premier League Roundup. Thanks for listening, guys, and do tune in next week for another Premier League Roundup.